All right, folks, how much have we talked about this matchup during the offseason? And we're finally here 2 nights away from Texas A&M Miami at Kyle Field College Station. Primetime game for Miami after a 2-0 start. Here we go. We got the Wholesome One on the line for Miami Live right here at the Voice of College Football. Wholesome One, how are you?
We hold it down. You know, it's a tough one for us to get that kind of news this close to a big game. But we're trying to stay positive because we do have other players that can compete and help the Miami Hurricanes get a big victory on the road at Texas A&M.
All right, let's start right there. In the meantime, folks, hit the like button, leave those comments and questions there in the live chat. You know the drill. Bring some folks and friends with you. The Wholesome One's going to break it down for the next several minutes here. All right. Xavier Restrepo, he leads the team in receiving right now. More than the targets and the receptions, obviously the position he plays in the wide receiver rotation, his specific wide receiver spot. How do you think that rotation is going to work and how that impacts everything else?
Well, it's going to throw off everything, Mark. And to be honest with you, this is why recruiting is so important. You have to be able to recruit and stack the cupboard because you never know what happens. And injuries are a part of this unfortunate sport. Well, it's an unfortunate part of this great sport is what I meant to say. So injuries happen. And Xavier Restrepo is out indefinitely for a while, in quotations. So that could mean for the rest of the season, maybe at the end of the season we get him back, or maybe that means he's done so. Okay. He plays the slot position for us, and he is the only person to seem to have a good connection with TBD right now. So that throws a big wrench into it. Now, they are roommates, and they have a great chemistry, and we saw over the last 2 weeks that TBD loves to go to he who he trusts, okay? And he seems to have a good relationship with maybe Keyshawn Smith. He's willing to try Brashard Smith, but he has a great relationship with Xavier Restrepo. He knows exactly where Xavier likes the ball to be placed. He knows how to throw it to him and lead. He knows how to put it in the bread back. So he knows how to hit it right on the money, whatever he would need. They have a great chemistry. And this week, a game that is well-renowned. Everyone's paying attention to it, mainly because of A&M and not Miami, and that's exactly how we like it. Please keep us as an underdog. Don't believe in us, please. And put all the pressure on A&M. And to go into a game like this where you're going to lean on those who have been established. And the only established wide receiver right now for the Miami Hurricanes was Xavier Restrepo as far as this year. Now, Keyshawn Smith had a nice end of the year last year once TBD was put into the system. And that was about it. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one to take on the chin, and I'm not trying to undermine it by any means, but when they say next man up, this is what people mean. Okay, that you have to be able to have a stacked roster enough to where if things do happen, someone pulls a hammy, someone tweaks an ankle, someone gets a serious injury, you can put another young man in that situation, and they are able to execute.
Xavier Restrepo in 12 games last year, 24 catches for 373. That's just about 15 and a half yards per reception, 2 touchdowns, and leading the team this year, 2 games, 11 catches, 172 and a touchdown. And he's out with a foot injury. Do we know what specific play knocked him out?
No. I know that there was talk of him getting out of the game towards the end of the game last week. Due to an ankle injury. But, I mean, he's been playing banged up. And that's the thing. He's that kind of tough, hard-nosed kind of player, Mark. So he could have been dinged up from camp for all we know. Maybe the injury happened in camp and then it took off in that game last week. I mean, we do not know. So I know that Miami as a private school is very private with a lot of that information. And, we don't even know the injury to Citizen. We just know that he's going to be out for a while. We don't know the specific injury to Donald Chaney Jr. We just know he'll be out for a while. That's just the verbiage that they've been using.
Zion Nelson's back this week, correct?
100%, yes.
Big plus there. Jalen Knighton. What do we know
I
about
would say
him?
he might be. He'll be back, but I still think he's about 70 to 75% all the way back.
Okay. Texas A&M obviously coming off a rough showing, a showing that nobody anticipated, although I got to say, which it means nothing now because I didn't do it, but I contemplated pulling the trigger on the upside. I definitely took the points. I instantly took that 19 and a half points, didn't think about it. And I saw this one and a couple other ones across the country. But anyway, regardless, they're a more talented team that shouldn't lose to App State. App State's a nice outfit in the group of five, no doubt. They've been a Sun Belt power at the top of that conference, but not an SEC power. So we point to the offense, obviously, on the Texas A&M side, and they've got some issues to work out at the quarterback position. And I guess that's still up in the air in regards to whether Jimbo's going to stay with Haynes King or does he go to the veteran Max Johnson, who threw 27 touchdown passes last year, who would be, the more reliable option. And then they got the 5-star Connor Weigman. They've got a lot of different options, but they didn't total 200 yards in total offense last week. I had the game on, wasn't like into it play by play, but then I went back and I watched the cut down version, and they scored a touchdown with 11 minutes left in the first quarter, and they didn't score again. The other touchdown was the Devon Ashane kickoff return, so they just had a rough time. Less than 200 yards. Less than 100 yards passing, terrible third down conversion rate. Haynes King got stripped from the backside at one point. His offensive lineman got on the ball. The other time they had a mesh point issue and fumbled the ball. Really, the touchdown drive wasn't a thing of beauty. He got loose. He broke contain and ran like 40 yards. And then Devon Ashane, they had a play set up for him. He's a really good player. And he ran it in. They had two big running plays on the touchdown drive. It was no 12-play masterpiece by any stretch. So your thoughts about A&M's offense? We'll start there.
Well, let's start at the quarterback position. To hear that Haynes King and Max Johnson have been splitting reps with the first team this week ahead of a big game like this game against Miami just lets me know that we need to prepare for both quarterbacks. Okay, Max Johnson has plenty of film of him and what he does good and what he does bad. He was very protective of the football. I mean, 27 and 6. I think he only threw 6 interceptions last year at LSU. He protects the football well. It was just coming off that high LSU experience, and they had just won a championship not too long before that. So they're still not the same program, same team. And I think you got to be able to put film for both of those guys on, which makes it tough on the defensive guys. Because now we don't get a chance to do too much on one guy. We got to split some reps and split some film evaluation on both quarterbacks and be able to visualize what Max Johnson would be able to do in the Jimbo Fisher pro style offense, more of a pistol approach to it. Okay. One thing I will say, and this needs to be understood, and I don't know how many Miami Hurricanes fans will see this before the kickoff at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That team that we watched against play App State will not be the same team that takes the field against Miami. And I say that with such seriousness because I want us to understand that, not because I think that, we got to play the underdog role. Just in case. That way I can come on and act crazy next week if we upset these people. It will still be an upset. I don't care what their 24 rating is that they lost to App State. That game is gone. You will never see that Texas A&M team ever again. More likely, will you never see them against Miami on Saturday. They're going to come out. They're in wounded dog mode. They have been attacked, scrutinized, every little thing you could bring up. They have been talked about when it comes to their offense and their approach. And if they should fire their coach, if guys can play, if they're just paying, if they paid for that last recruiting class. All kinds of things have been thrown out there. So in my opinion, We need to understand that up front. This is a very talented roster, regardless if you add the number one recruiting class ever or not. At wide receiver, I personally don't understand why they just don't run a spread. They are very deep and very, very qualified and talented wide receivers. Okay, but Coach Jimbo Fisher is who he is. He's been this way since he was calling plays at LSU for Coach Nick Saban, if you all didn't know that. And then his time going over and being an offensive coordinator and head coach in waiting up in Tallahassee. And he was the reason why Bobby Bowden kind of got pushed out the door because it was like, oh, well, we got a nice young replacement right here. Okay, he's run the same kind of concepts. The defense that he's had the least amount of success against happens to be our defense coordinator. And Coach Kevin Steele, even their times against A&M and Auburn, his time when he played Clemson, there were times they've gone at each other a lot. So they know each other in the do's and don'ts on both sides, the good and the bad. What Coach Kevin Steele is going to have, the holes in his defense and the way things that he would like to go to, and vice versa, the way that Coach Fisher is going to lean into some of his things. If you get him in third and long, if you get him in second and manageable, if you on first down, we don't have to worry about eye candy. That's one thing I do think is going to be easier for this linebacking core and for this secondary at Miami is we don't have to worry about the eye candy. You might get a slight motion every now and again, but you won't get an ace jet counter backside. You won't get RPO counter guards pulling this way, but the quarterback's going to pull it and throw it back that way. That's not what you're going to have. It's a very old school, early 20 teens kind of approach to offense. And at the end of the day, Coach Fisher believes that as a former Browns winner, as a former national championship winning coach, that he shouldn't have to change his offense. Guys just have to execute. So we need to understand that, okay? We need to come with that approach to it. And that's the way that he came across in his interview is not saying he's unhumble, but he's confident in his play call. He's confident in knowing what the defense is going to bring, and his quarterback has to make the throw. His wide receiver has to make the catch. His offensive line has to block. We're going to see. We're going to see that this Saturday if Miami can execute.
The Wholesome One's here breaking things down for us as he does every Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. I would love everyone to head on over to the Wholesome One's channel. Make sure you're subscribed there. He breaks down the film. He knows the game. He loves the Canes. So you've got the knowledge and the passion. You put those two together, you are good to go. All right, Wholesome One, let me ask you this question. So take whatever you would consider to be the most efficient / explosive modern offense that's being executed in college football right now. If that's Lincoln Riley at USC, it's on that.
Still got to get used to saying that, man. Lincoln Riley at USC.
Yeah, I would guess that he's in. He's on the top rung with whomever else.
I have a couple.
When you say Jimbo Fisher's about a decade behind, make some comparisons to educate us on what we would see out of, let's say, a Lincoln Riley offense, Ryan Day offense, whomever you want to put in that role of having, the top rung, prolific, updated offense versus what Jimbo's doing.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get maybe I misinterpreted what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is he's confident in the play call, meaning that it doesn't need to be what I mean by spread, meaning we take bigger guys off the field and put more of the smaller guys on the field. Okay. So what I mean by that is you get some 4 wide action where you get 2 slot wide receivers, 2 outside wide receivers, 1 back. Okay. In some instances, now that's in every offense, but it's how you call it. Is it up tempo? Do we still huddle? Are we looking to the sideline for hand signals and play sheets? Or is he giving you a quarterback comes to the sideline, he gives him a call, and the quarterback jogs back out there, gives the call to the huddle, they clap, they go to the line of scrimmage, and they execute the play. You get more of that from Coach Jimbo Fisher than you will anything else. Okay, I'm not saying that his offense is bad. I'm not saying that's what you said either. But I'm not trying to interpret that his offense isn't successful, but there seems to be a mishap here when it comes to these big plays, explosive plays, or when it comes to the up-tempo-ness, when it comes to attacking teams secondary. He will lull you to sleep with these curls, these outs, these slants to get, and most defenses don't ever bite. They just keep it all in front of you, keep it in front of you, keep it in front of you. Don't jump, okay? Because when you jump, now he's going to come out in that same formation, and now we got to stop and go. Or now we have an out up. Or now we get a post instead of a deep in. And it still looks the same formation-wise. So what I'm saying is the complexity and having to prepare for multiple different formations makes it really tough on the defensive side of the ball. I look at App State. It was really tough on Miami in game because, not App State, excuse me, Southern Miss. I keep saying that. Southern Miss is what I'm speaking of. So Southern Miss going into that game due to the injuries at quarterback was basically having Frank Gore Jr. as their quarterback in a Wildcat scheme with a bunch of ace jets, counters, even some Georgia Tech triple option in there to get to run fit. That was it, to run the football. Then they insert their quarterback, who was a freshman in his first start ever, and he gets up there, and now we got some 12 personnel, we got 11 personnel, we got pure spread, we got 5 wide. Then they'll go up tempo and substitute the wide receivers off and then move tight ends on the field. And you have to in-game adjust with all of this as it's going. Now, the beautiful part is when you get a chance to substitute on offense, so does the defense. Okay? But just because I substitute doesn't mean the play call technically changes. It's just by personnel changes. If I were to answer your question that you're saying, one of the offenses that I think far exceeds that, I would even look at Ryan Day. Now, Ryan Day at Ohio State showed this previous week against a really bad Notre Dame team a couple weeks ago that they can run the ball. But if you look at Ryan Day's time, they were a shotgun-based offense that had a minimum of 3 wide receivers on the field, which would be listed as a spread. Spread, up-tempo, RPO would be all 3 categories that the offense would fall under. Similar offense to that is Lincoln Riley's at OU. Now, it was slightly different depending on the quarterback because Jalen Hurts is different from Baker Mayfield, who is different from Kyler Murray. Now, in those RPO schemes, it can have quarterback run incorporated into it, just like you can also have passing, that's why it's run, pass option. That same counterplay that he could give to the quarterback, that the quarterback can give to the running back, can also be one where he keeps it and Kyler Murray can break for 60 on you, or someone like Jalen Hurts can keep it and break for 10 on you, or someone like Baker Mayfield can keep it and throw the now route to the wide receiver that no one was paying attention to because you read run. All your keys said run. Okay, the offensive lineman moved. The running back is going that way. Everything says run. So everybody comes up. Well, Baker would pull it, turn his hips, and whoop, throw it right out to the out wide receiver, and CeeDee Lamb is taking up the sideline. So in these different complex offenses, the reason why I say Coach Fisher's is slightly different is it's a little bit more of a traditional offense. His quarterback mainly plays quarterback. He's a distributor, a point guard, if you will. Now, Haynes King is the first one that kind of gets out of the pocket on you, can run on you. But for the most part, even with Kellen Mond, the offense they ran before with Kellen Mond was a lot more of that under center. He has a H-back. You know, we're talking about regular stretch plays, regular 24 stretch plays with an up back as a lead blocker, things of that nature. And it's not more of a pistol or a shotgun approach on a high percentage where it's attacking with skill position guys. So I don't know if I got 2 X's and O's there for you, if you were able to. That's where I was going with it.
So are you going to be more concerned, less concerned when you see a particular quarterback jog onto the field for the first series for Texas A&M, or doesn't matter? Or
Man, that's a great question. To be honest with you, I'm a little bit more nervous on Max Johnson than I am the current starting quarterback, not just because of the App State film in which I broke down, because he still can play. Haynes King is a good quarterback, but I'm not saying he's bad by any means. But I think with Haynes King's ability and what Miami has shown to struggle with for multiple years, is a mobile QB, and it's a backbreaker. And Max Johnson shows a little bit. He'll get a key first down every now and again. But I think another thing that comes with the quarterback position and their connection with the play calling is the confidence. Okay. Confidence in the execution of the play, confidence in that first read, confidence in, you know what, I am going to just go out here and just get an 8-yard gain and slide down and run to the sideline to get the next play call. Now, Max Johnson's confidence and I think Haynes Keen's confidence are going to be different, but are we prepared for both? What makes me nervous is we have to go off of a different offense in LSU to get Max Johnson's film. Because, I mean, he got in the Sam Houston game, but I think he has 3 or 4 completions on the season this year. They thought he would get in last week, but obviously they didn't. And they even thought about pulling Haynes Keen out then. But I think that we're going to have to deal with a lot. And it's going to determine on whether we're looking at the quarterback as someone who can make a true 11 on 11, getting out of the pocket and getting down the field, and or Max Johnson and his deadly accuracy and his better arm, meaning that he won't just keep dinking and diving. He'll eventually throw a deep post, a 9 route on us. And cornerback has shown that it's not a plus right now for Miami outside of Tyreek Stevenson. And even he has had some bad moments in this early young season. So I would say I'm a little bit more nervous to see Max Johnson, but Haynes Keen's ability to get out of the pocket. And Mark, we have already shown we do not rush the passer in our correct lanes. We leave lanes wide open. We have defensive ends flying up the field. We have defensive ends cutting inside. And we have not shown the ability to keep them in the pocket and sack the quarterback on a consistent basis. What that means is you'll have a defensive end from Miami fly up the field, and then Haynes King step right into this wide gap to find someone open or take off because we're in man and people have their backs to him. All right. So it can be a tricky one either way, but I think we definitely need to get that understood, that this is not some game where Miami's going to roll off and whoop their behind and they suck because they just lost to who cares App State. No. Established program, established coach. I personally think he's a bit overrated. That's just me. We gotta handle business.
Texas A&M a 6-point favorite. They were hanging in that 9 range during the offseason. Obviously, the App State game has affected that, but still a 6-point favorite at home. And so that's the take on the Texas A&M offense. Texas A&M defense obviously had a good game against App State, kept it under control, only gave up
absolutely
scores. And this has been one of the better front sevens in college football the last several seasons. They did lose a lot from last year, but, you know, we saw, for example, Shamar Stewart make his first sack as a 5-star coming into college football against Appalachian State. And, you know, they're obviously, Damani Richardson's one of the best safeties in the country. They're loaded on defense. There's no question about that.
Yeah, you even have someone like Darnell Harris, a young man from Miami, a 5-star who went to Booker T, a feeder pattern school to the University of Miami, right around the corner from the University of Miami over in Opelika, but Overtown, excuse me. So you want a defensive breakdown now?
Yeah.
Oh, man. See, the thing is, they're really unique on the front, Smart. So they have like bigger defensive ends. Most of the time we have our defensive ends now is like edge rusher. Now there's a difference between an edge and a D end. Edge is more lighting up behind 240 and under kind of speed guys. Your true defensive ends are like your 260, 270 guys. All right. They are well into the 280s, 290s. Like these guys are powerful. They're larger defensive ends. you would think it would be more like a 3-4 kind of scheme with the size of their ends, but man, they are big up front. They expect the 4 defensive linemen to stop the run. What that means is they don't really shoot through gaps and try to disengage. They extend, get knocked back, and maintain the gap. Then when declared, then they're able to disengage. So what I mean by the difference, let's take a defensive tackle, for example. Look at a guy like, I'll even say RJ McIntosh for Miami fans. RJ McIntosh was a guy that wouldn't stack a guard up. He would rip quick into the gap or backdoor it with the swim and get in the backfield. As opposed to someone like a Huluti Nata out of Oregon and out of Baltimore Ravens, who was a massive human being who played the 4-eye, played a little 3 technique, or Ndamukong Suh out of Nebraska, where they basically stacked. Like, soon as you get off the line of scrimmage, they take 1-2 steps, boom. Then they identify where it's going, disengage and go. As opposed to like even a Warren Sapp, someone, or Aaron Donald, guys like that who use the gaps and use their speed and anticipation for how they stop the run, as opposed to your bigger guys who use power and who use leverage and anchor and then go. What that stops is it stops offensive linemen from climbing to the linebackers, which means they can fly free and hit you in the mouth or get you right at the line of scrimmage or get you in TFLs. So it's about how you want to get it done on a defense.
Just a quick question, wholesome one. So the Aaron Donald example of his technique, if he's not quick enough or he guesses wrong, combination guesses wrong, not quick enough, then he's obviously out of the play. He's taken a guess as to
correct,
and stacking it up straight up like Ndamukong Suh is a little bit more conservative approach. You're read and react.
Correct. And it may not always be conservative, but it's more of a traditional viewpoint. Yeah. Meaning I'm manning this gap. I'm manning the B gap. I'm manning the A gap. I'm not allowing our guys to get defeated, meaning guys climb. I'm not allowing you to beat me, so you're not knocking me back into the linebackers. I'm maintaining the LOS, and I, like you said, read and react and go. And that's why I said a lot of people look at that as more of a 3-4 scheme, more of like a Pittsburgh Steelers, Green Bay, Baltimore. Well, Baltimore, we shoot gaps. We're kind of a multi-front. It's a little different, but a lot of blitzing, things of that nature out of the Baltimore Ravens 34. But that's the traditional viewpoint. Now let's get to these linebackers. Man, can they go? Can they go? And they hit you. Now they hit you, Mark, and they're not little guys. We're not talking about guys that are speedsters who are 212 pounds. No. Legit 225, legit 230, 5'11 to 6'2 is the range of almost all their linebackers, and they will hit you in the mouth, and they will hurt you if you do not have the size to be able to take this hitting on a consistent basis. I'm a little nervous about our running back against them, especially with the way that they play defensive line. Our offensive line is predicated on climbing. A bunch of pulls, a bunch of double teams to climb. Well, they work to not allow that to happen. All right. Now, I think we have the speed advantage, Mark, if we can get to the edge on them. I think that Jalen Knighton, I think that a fresh Henry Parrish can beat them to the edge. But as far as just running dive, running power right at them, I would not get into that. And I know that both teams kind of looked ahead. I know that both teams are hiding things that they're going to spring in this game. But if we look at the first 2 weeks, and if I look at Coach Josh Gaddis' scheme while even he was at Michigan, this offense is predicated off of the run. And they will work to establish the run. Well, A&M doesn't allow you to establish it unless you force them. And the reason why I'm excited that it was put on film how to. And I'm not comparing Miami's offensive line to App State's offensive line just yet. And by name, you may say, that's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. You talk about a runner-up to the Offensive Line of the Year award that was given to Michigan was the App State Mountaineers. Did you know that, Mark?
I did not.
Joe Moore Award. The Joe Moore Award is awarded to the best offensive line unit.
Sure.
More likely than not, the last couple of years has been given to Notre Dame because Notre Dame has been putting out great offensive lines. Wisconsin was the first inaugural winner of it. No brainer. Iowa won a couple of them, but then like 3 or 4 years straight, Notre Dame. And then out of nowhere, Michigan last year. The runner-up to that award was App State. Okay, and 4 of those 5 young men are back again at App State. So that's why they were able to run that ball and move these guys off the LOS. Now, it's going to be up to Coach Alex Mirabal, Coach Brandon Potter, Coach Edward Bain, and of course, Coach Bain, and of course, Coach Mario Cristobal to figure out how to get it done. And I trust them to, but it's going to be one of those games where I'm hoping we don't do that too long and it just be a struggle of, 2 bulls just running into each other until somebody says no, just, submits. I'm hoping that we lean into our best player, TBD. And I'm hoping this Saturday we establish some wide receivers and some tight ends. And I think that, unfortunately, with the departure of Xavier Restrepo, we are forced to establish someone else this upcoming Saturday. Someone is going to step up and make plays at that wide receiver position for Miami. Okay.
Folks, you should all have already hit the like button. If you haven't yet, it takes like a millisecond. Hit the like button, please. Subscribe here. Subscribe at the Wholesome Ones channel. You should already be subscribed over there. Please subscribe here at the Voice of College Football. It just helps. That's all there is to it. And it doesn't cost anything, doesn't hurt you in any way. You can turn on the bell for the notifications to know when we go live, which is typically Wednesday at 7, Cam Underwood, Wholesome One, Thursday at 8. But sometimes you got to switch things up. That's why it's important to hit the notifications to know when we go live. And again, please support in any way you can, but at least hit the like button. Sweet Lou, H1H, basically asking, do you think we have a better chance at the W with a time of possession angle like what App State did, or trying to bait them into a shootout?
The latter. I might get in trouble for this, but I'm just going to say it. You want to whoop their ass, spread it out, and attack these people. It's just that simple, in my opinion. And it's not going to be simple to actually execute. But if you go in there and try to play an SEC game with an SEC team, we are not going to win that, in my opinion. We're going to come out saying we played hard, we fought hard, and we just lost. No. You have the well-established quarterback. You have the better quarterback. Let's lean into him. Give him the confidence this week. His best friend just went down. That doesn't mean go conservative. That doesn't mean try to play Georgia or Arkansas against A&M. We're not that team. And our head coach and our OC, more likely than not, will try to do that. And if they prove me wrong, I have no problem coming here and saying, thank God they did what I wanted them to do as opposed to what I think and the higher probability of them wanting to do, where we get into a bat swinging contest and they end up winning on a late field goal or whatever, and the game's 21-10 or 21-13 because we just so happen to not go attack their linebackers in coverage, attack their – when you looked at Tyler Van Dyke last year, Mark, he was the absolute best in games when Miami was told they couldn't win the game. Pittsburgh and NC State, his 2 best games to me on film. What did he do in that game, Mark? He took it personal that people thought we weren't good enough to be in that game. We're a 2-win team and a 4-loss team. And he went into Pittsburgh's house and handle business, and we got the W. He let NC State come down when we thought it was blowout. They're rolling. They have a really good quarterback also, and beat them. Lean into that. Believe in that. Believe in Tyler. Believe that he can execute this offense. He will find someone open. Believe that we have coached and put in the time and effort into this offensive line, and they will go play for him in pass protection. Don't go out here and try to play 2010 Georgia against Alabama in the SEC championship game, or 1986 Auburn, Georgia, where the score is 6-3. No, spread it out, test their DBs, and let's play Miami Hurricanes football. Sorry about that.
Oh,
Almost
of course, if Miami gets a big lead, then your run pass ratio changes if you have a big lead. So let's say that the game's competitive to the last drive. If we're going to go with your formula, what's Miami going to throw at 60-40? 65,
yes.
35 over.
I would say 60-40. Don't go like 80-20, but run when need be. Try to establish the run early, but if we see that it's not working, man, no problem. Let's see if your big outside linebacker can run with Brashard Smith. Oh, he can. Oh, you're in cover 2. Oh, seam route 12. Let's go. You have to. You have to. You have to lean into it. I know people talk about wide receivers aren't established. Even I have said it. You know how to establish people? Fill them with confidence. You know how to help young men play like their hair's on fire? Look them in the eyes and tell them, I believe in you. We're going to come to you. Let's do it. Show us that you're a 4-star. You got this. Jacoby George, Brashard Smith, Romello Brinson. Let's go. I ain't going to say let's ride. I'm not a Broncos fan. I'm not a Russell Wilson guy either. But let's do it. And if you drop the ball, it's all right, baby. I got you. Come on, pick them up. Get them to the sideline. Hey, listen, you dropped it. Yeah. But we're going to get on you about that later. But we're in the game. And we only got 40 more minutes left in the game, 30 more minutes left in the game. You got to keep playing in game. Okay? Guys like me can complain about it in film later on. But when you're in the game and you're on the sideline and you're in a big on-the-road environment, it has to be filled with a bunch of positivity. Yes, we can get on the things we do negative, but we're already getting that energy from all around us. You have to come together and believe in one another. And going into this game, it seems like this fan base doesn't believe in TBD. Well, if we want things to change, we got to believe in our guys. Not saying we're going to go 12-0 and win a damn natty, but in this game particularly, it's a national stage for him to prove all the offseason stuff, all the first-round stuff, one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC. And I think that he can do it. Now, are we going to call the game to allow him to do it? That's a separate thing. We'll have to see how Coach Josh Gaddis and this team responds to it.
When you were talking about those young wide receivers, and even if they make some early mistakes, lifting them up, keeping their confidence up, I couldn't help but have flashbacks to the last group of wide receivers. But that was after like 3 years.
So. Yeah, that was different. We had already known who Mark Pope and D. Wiggins were, and that was different. But I tell you what, I look at what happened. I happened to be in Minneapolis this weekend for the Vikings and Packers, going out and supporting a couple of guys who went to my alma mater, who I know personally, and also went to go support a couple of Miami Hurricanes who were playing in that game. And what happened on the first play of the Packers? A play action bomb to Christian Watson, second-round pick out of North Dakota State, hits him right in the hands and he drops it. Guess they didn't throw him another ball into the third quarter. You see Aaron Rodgers on the sideline chewing him a new one, ignoring him, not even looking. We can't have that. That you can't. And I get it. Pro ball is different. Those are professionals. He getting paid millions. He should have caught the football. But at the end of the day, the basics of the game are still the game that we play as 6-year-olds. Throw, catch, block, and tackle. And if we continue to just get on, like in game, Mark, you can't do that. You could chew him a new one on when you go to the bus or in film, and they say, where'd they draft you out of? I see why you didn't go to anywhere else. You can go crazy on them then. But the body language, especially on the road, you have to be able to come together. And if we do drop a key pass, if someone does make a missed block, hold them accountable. Not saying baby them, but don't get on them too much to where they go in the shell. Okay, at this level, they're still very impressionable from 18 to 22, and we got to make sure that we fill them with the right kind of thoughts to go out there and keep playing the game.
In addition to what you're saying, PF would like to involve the tight ends.
And I just don't see that. When I listen to Coach Fisher's presser, I think that they believe Will Mallory is waiting to have a breakout, just like a bunch of our fans think that too. For him to bring up, like he said, yeah, they have a great quarterback. The second thing out of his mouth is 7 is a good player. The next thing out of his mouth is they have an all-class tight end. Okay, so what that means to me is I don't know if we want to do that. But I would want to go outside with the football. I think that they are going to fill that box, maybe even double Will, and be in the box, okay, to see if because they know we're going to try to establish the run. Even though I think the first play of the game might be a play action. I think we're going to see if we can establish TBD on that big stage because they're going to fill that box and try to stop our run and take away our tight ends with short passes and fill the running lanes. That's what they're going to do early on because that's what Miami has put on film. Is that they're going to establish the run, and then on certain downs they'll go to the pass, but they want to run the football, and that's what that is.
Teaching TV, Mark, you just talked me into subscribing. Teaching TV, I shouldn't have to talk you into it. It's first-rate content here. You'll be happy. Believe me. You will be pleased. All right. What other comments and questions do we have here? We got Tyson Tracy saying we should bring James Williams to the line of scrimmage and force the offense to move quickly like Virginia Tech used to do with Bud Foster. Fire off the edge and rushes the offense. H1H. Thoughts?
I love it. I love the thought process. Now, when you say bring James Williams in, my biggest thing, and James Williams has been playing great football in the last 2 weeks, really, really good, great football, man. I'm going to say I like him in the box, but I would hope for it to be like a feel or contain guy as opposed to inside. Like when I say the box, what I mean is inside of the top end all the way to the other tackle or inside the tackles. I don't want James Williams in there because then linemen can climb up to him and take him away. What I would say is keep him in that alley, like I was saying before, in between the tight end and his nearest threat, meaning the tight end in a slot or tight end in a far wide receiver, or an inline tight end or slot tight end, removed tight end, and the offensive tackle. Keep him in there so that he can get off blocks of wide receivers as opposed to blocks of linemen. Okay, he can get off the block of a tight end, but him getting off the block of an offensive guard or off the block of an offensive tackle, I don't know. He might try to dip inside or use his speed, but against tight ends and receivers, he can maintain and stack them up, disengage, and go make the play. So I think that's what Tyson is trying to say. It's just basically bring that 6th or 7th man into the box and have that be James Williams or just close to the LOS so that if they do try to do slants or screens or anything, he's right there to make a play on the ball. And I wouldn't mind that.
All right, folks, it's our 275th edition of Hurricanes Live next week, Thursday, most likely at 8 Eastern. But again, hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live because sometimes we've got to switch up on the schedule. But we get the wholesome one every Thursday, typically at 8 Eastern. You got post-game, Miami, Texas A&M right here, the voice of college football, after the game as well. So join us then.
Okay.
Wholesome one. Any parting shots, last thoughts?
It's going to be a good one, Mark. For me personally, I'm going to be kind of split. A program close to me is playing in a huge game against the University of Arizona on one screen, and then I got Miami A&M, and they kick off at the same time. So I'm gonna be kind of hurt when it comes. But one of them I get a chance to see the all 22 too, so I probably can focus on one and the other. But we have a film uh, of the Texas A&M offense and defense dropping tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I did my first half and second half review of the Miami versus Southern Miss game that dropped on Tuesday and Wednesday. So reason being is out of respect for us being here, it makes no sense to release a video on Thursday if I'm going to be here. I might as well just release it tomorrow and give everybody something to look forward to watch the night before a really, really big game. But thank you, Mark, as always, for the opportunity. And at the end of the day, man, it's a big game. And if Miami wins this game, it is an upset. Okay, they are a more established and a better team right now. Miami has the better quarterback, and I personally hope that Miami leans into the quarterback and have him handle business. But as Sweet Lou is saying, hit that like button on the way out, you all. Thank you, Mark, so much. And as always, go Canes.